All right, good morning and welcome to the IFM 1B Saturday tutorial. As usual, I'm going to be doing the tutorial. So I noticed that this week was polymorphism, and I remember last week you guys asked me to show you guys how to set up a form. This practical in specific, this practical specifically gives you a lot of information on how to set up the form. But I'm still going to set up the form. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Um, well, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to just ask me any questions that you had regarding the practical, or tell me if you want me to focus on anything specific from this practical. You're welcome to just pop me a message in the chat, or like raise your hand, and then you can talk to me via microphone. Anything goes. I'm happy with anything. Just to save a bit of time this week, I did a UML for us before the time, as well as I set up the basic skeleton of the project. Like I created the classes. I didn't put any code in, but I did do the option statements, as well as the I did put some comments in to tell us what we need to do. So if you guys are ready, we can go and look at that. Or if you have any questions, let me know. No questions? Please raise a hand if you have a question. Please raise a hand if you can hear me. Can you hear me? All right, cool. So y'all can hear me, but no questions, right? All right, then off we go and read the practical and understand why I made the choices I did in the UML. When I was doing the UML or designing the solution here. Let's just share some screens. Please go through the form. Yes, I definitely will, but that's obviously going to be the last step. After I've shown you guys how to set up the classes and stuff like that, right? So essentially, once we're reading through the practical, right, what we know is that there's a fire station that needs us to help manage the different kinds of firefighters, right? It's a very nice practical actually. It properly nails home the idea of polymorphism. So I really enjoyed reading through this and working through it. So we know that there's a sea firefighter class, right? So the sea firefighter class is essentially going to be a basic firefighter. These are people who just fight fires. They have a call sign, which is essentially the nickname. We've got some experience, right? Now, notice something with the experience, right? It cannot be changed publicly. That means immediately in your mind that should trigger this is a read-only property for experience, right? But also we know that it has to have a minimum value of 0. Now, why is that minimum value of 0 important? That means in your property method or in wherever you manage to set experience, you're going to have to validate it, right? And that becomes a really important thing because it helps us decide essentially what kind of helper methods we might need, right? So then we've got years. Now years also has a minimum value of 0, but it says nothing about it not being able to be changed publicly. And if you think about it, that makes sense, right? Every year, yes, there's a question. What's up? How can I help?
Good morning, sir. I hope you're good. With regards to the second line, the experience, it says the double
Yeah.
value minimum value of 0, which represents the experience of a firefighter and cannot be changed publicly. So I had a
Yes.
confusion with the term publicly. Does it mean it's a read only, or it doesn't mean that? Because I tried
It
to make
means
it a
it's a
read
read
only,
only.
but but when I wanted to validate it, then it gave me an issue.
Yeah, well, the thing is with the read only, it can't have a setter, right? So when you make
Yes,
a read
yes.
only property, you can't have a setter. So then in the places
Mm.
where you set the experience, so obviously in the add experience section here, in this section here, that's where you validate it because that's the only thing that changes the
Oh,
experience.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So thank you so much because I was confused. I didn't know where to make it a read only. But thank you. I'll see you when you code it. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem, no problem. I hope that kind of helped you understand why this property should be a read only and why it would give you a problem if you tried to to put a setter there, right? So read only means you can only get the value from the class. You can't put a value into the class. So by default, it won't allow for a setter, right? So it won't allow the set with value kind of parameter thing there. It is linked to a method called add experience, right? So this is the only thing that can change it. It's a method called add experience, right? And then so that's what we know. We know we already need a method for this. We know we already need some kind of validator method. We know that this is a read-only property. All right, then we've got years, right? So years, obviously minimum value of 0, and it's just representing the number of years the firefighter has and has been fighting fires, right? So then we've got some utility and helper methods here, right? And then there's going to be these are the ones that also need to be there. As mentioned above, add experience, it's a subroutine, right? So remember this is a subroutine that sets the experience by multiplying the number of years that the firefighter has been fighting fires by 0.75, right? And then it says see the constructor below for further information, right? That tells us that the constructor is linked to one of these values. Because experience is accumulated differently for different types of firefighters, add experience will differ in derived classes. That immediately tells you it's supposed to be an overridable subroutine, right? This is supposed to be an overridable subroutine. Then we've got something called display. Display will return a string description of the firefighter's call sign, years, and years fighting fire, and the experience level, right, in this specific order. One of the things that's really important, right, is read through your whole paper. Because if you read through your whole paper, right, you'll see that question D talks about using polymorphism and displaying the details of each firefighter. That essentially means that display is also going to be overridable. All right, that's something you should have picked up after reading through the whole paper. So it's important to read through your whole paper and then do your design. Right? Then we've got a constructor that accepts the integer parameter years for setting the years property at instantiation. But also the constructor then sets the experience of a firefighter by using the add experience method. Right? So that's really important. That means your constructor has to take the years in and set experience. Otherwise, it's not doing its job. Right? Then obviously we've got the two inherited classes or two child classes or subclasses, depending on what terminology your lecturer wants you to use. Right? And this one has clearly you can see that display has changed here, right? As well as add experience. So that's another hint to tell you that display should have been overridden. Right? So add experience here takes the experience and so it multiplies the level of the firefighter's first aid by 15 and adds it to experience. That's what this add experience does. And a display just returns the string. So if you look at it, right, it's call sign, years, and then first aid level and experience in this order, right? So what you can do is you can kind of just call the display from your base class and then just call the one afterwards. But if you wanted to do it differently, that's totally your own choice. Again, if you look at the bottom here, it's the same kind of thing. It's literally the same thing, right? So then we've got add experience here. Oh wait, something's here. So this one is first aid level and then experience. This one is experience and chemistry level. This one you can call the base classes display and then add a couple strings on. This one you can't because this one already adds experience at the end, right? So the base class already has add experience at the end. So it already puts the experience at the end in the display function there, experience level. There we go. And that's lost, right? So that's important there. Just so we know that differentiation that you're supposed to pick up, it's a slight reading thing that you kind of have to pick up. All right, then we've got add experience, which kind of goes, well, are we going to take the existing experience and the chemistry level? So you're going to make a product, right? Product is a multiplication, so we're going to multiply the experience with the chemistry level. and adds it to the current experience. That's a very cool way to earn experience. I wish it worked like that in games. But anyway, any questions so far about how I'm interpreting this practical? No, not yet. All right, cool. I see that. So this essentially gives us the three classes that you're gonna need. You're gonna need C Firefighter, CER, and C Enviro, right? So essentially that's the three classes that we're working with as well as the form. Now question C to F must each be in a separate method. Remember to read your instructions, and they must each be answered within their own functions. This is actually a really good practical. It's actually very similar to a past year paper. So if you're preparing for your semester test, this is a great practical to redo or to make sure you understand, right? You'll be preparing yourself for the second semester test quite well using this. All right, so this says use a single array, instantiate objects, and store them in store the various different firefighter. Sorry about that. I don't know why I ended up being disconnected there. Hopefully you can hear me. Just testing again. Can you hear me? Hand up if you can hear me, please. Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. So is that now questions, or if or was it just to help me know that you're hearing me? Okay, so everybody's gone. So that means it was just to help me to know that you can hear me. All right. So then it says in a multi-line text box, right? Demonstrate polymorphism. Polymorphism is a very big word, and you'll probably hear it in a job interview one day, right? So I'm not even going to lie to you. This kind of a practical, you might be asked to do something like this in a job interview, depending on where you go for a job interview. First year stuff can be asked in a job interview. Don't be surprised. So make sure you understand this practical. Make sure you understand how it works, why it's done the way it's done, and everything, because you will be using it for the rest of your life. And it's such a powerful, such a cool thing to learn. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so let me just display all of the details of each firefighter in the single array. Right, cool. This is in a multi-line text box. All right, so then in a separate text box, we display the number of firefighters, number of ER people, and number of enviro objects that have been created, right? To do this, we have to look through the entire array that we have and count all of the different types, right? And then from the single array, display the chemistry level for all of these guys, right, in a grid. So, so that's what we're going to do. Here's a quick UML that I kind of did to essentially just demonstrate what we're planning to do with those three classes in the beginning. Right, so obviously we've got cosine. Now, the reason experience is protected and not private, right, is because the add experience function is now going to be, or the subroutine add experience is essentially going to be directly changing that by differently in each derived class. Right, that's really important. If you notice, the years don't change in the derived classes. Only this experience changes. So that needs to be available only to the family. Right. Now, here's your constructor. It's got one little argument or one variable in the parameter list, depending on how you want to say it. Then we've got add experience, and we've got display. Then property methods. I don't know how you guys do property methods in UML. I just kind of showed you what we need property methods for. We've got a public years, which is both get and set. Then we've got read-only experience, which returns a double, and we've got cosine, which returns a string. And then we've got a protected validator, right? This is going to be one of our utility methods. This is going to ensure that neither years nor experience goes below 0, right? That's the goal of that thing. Then we've got CER, which is essentially going to have first aid level as an attribute. It's going to have the same kind of constructor. And we're going to have the add experience here and display, which are the two overridable stuff that we're going to override in now the base class, in now the child class, or the subclass, or the derived class. Right? So, yeah, this is the Wait, I don't know which one's the derived and the yeah, okay, so just I'm just gonna use base class. This is base class and this is child class, right? Base is the one that gets inherited from, and child is the one that inherits the stuff, right? Just so you know how I say it. Please try and use the words your lecturer uses. That's more important. But this is just so you can understand what I'm trying to say here, right? Does anybody have any questions so far with my UML design decisions? Because essentially these two are mirrors of each other. With chemistry level and first aid level, we've got the same constructor kind of thing going. We've got add experience and display, which each need to be overridden in their specific methods. And we've got a property method for this variable here, as well as a property method for this one here. All right, does anybody have any questions for with regards to the UML and any design choices I had? Maybe you want to look at the access modifiers, like the stuff that I declared private and public. Maybe the property methods. Any questions? None? All right, so okay, that's cool. That's perfectly fine then. Let's go off to code then, I guess. So as I said, I made some stuff. So I just put some comments down telling us what we need to do in each question. I then also added the option statements as well as detail. Put your details here so you guys know. Always remember to put in the option statements as well as your details. And that's all I've done so far, right? So we'll literally be doing it from scratch. I just took those. I just did the UML thing quickly so that we can, so that we save some time so that I can manage to do the form with you guys this week. All right, cool. Let's start with C Firefighter as usual. I'm going to quickly try and double screen this. All right, cool. And all right, so what we know is we're gonna have some attributes. All right, we're gonna have private call sign. String, we're gonna have protected experience. Have private pairs at here. Then we're gonna have constructor, right? We're gonna be a public. All right, so like I said, one of the main things here is that the constructor also calls exp, add exp, right? So that's something that we're gonna have to add in here. So what we know first is that it sets the years. So it's gonna wait. Important is overshadowing, right? So a key thing is not naming your stuff the same so that the compiler gets confused. Overshadowing is what happens when you have two things that are named the same and the computer doesn't know which one you're talking about, right? So to prevent that, we put some underscores underneath our private or protected stuff so that we know that that stuff's only for us, right? Also makes coding a little bit easier. I'm sure you've been told that already, but anyway. Then we got some methods that's according to the thing. And here we'll go public add sub add, because it was a subroutine. Remember I told you guys to remember that? Right? Oh yes, one of the things I wanted to tell you guys, you see this void here? And that's just my way of saying a subroutine. It means it's got no return type. And what's going to happen here is we're going to need some validator. So, so if we're doing some validation in here, the best way to do it is to dump temporary version of experience. And once we got the temporary version of experience, right? What we're going to do is we're going to say exp is going to be equal to maybe experience let's do this quicker. Shall we? Let's do it a bit quicker. So this should actually be a dollar. Right, experience multiplied by, and the actual thing that if I remember, it was 0.75, right? So it's years times 0.75. Experience is equal to years multiplied by 0.75, right? You're gonna do the validates. You're gonna say, all right, I believe it's, and that's how it's gonna work, right? So this is just a temporary calculation, and then we're gonna validate the temporary calculation and see what happens essentially, right? So that's an important thing. And then we're gonna have years, right? So no display. So one of the things I forgot here is this is overridable. Right, and then we got that's because I did say that in the UML that those are going to be overrided. I just forgot again. Overridable. This is a function, by the way. This is called display, and the reason it's a function is because it needs again a string. So we'll see it here. It's essentially here. It gives back a string. And so them as string. Let's make it more readable. Let's go answer string, right? Then we're gonna say answer equals, and what are we gonna put? You're gonna put call sign, right? It was call sign, and then what? It was call sign years firefighting and experience. So it's call sign years and experience. What's the purpose of the colon? The colon is just so it's readable in the text box. Can you explain the add experience subroutine again? I will as soon as I've done the validation function, right? So I'll just go over that again as soon as we've got a validation function. I'm just busy trying to format the string here. It's colon and then a space. Like let's say when you put student number, right, on your paper, you write student number, then you put a semicolon, and then you actually write your student number. Do you get what I'm trying to do there? I'm trying to make it readable for the user, essentially. And here, the best one to use is actually that. So I'm going to use best practices this time, and we're going to go with call sign, and we're going to go with C string, and no, it's not C string, environment dot new line. All right, that's just adding a new line after each one, right? So it's bringing out a new line. I'm going to go, and the years of experience is going to need to be converted. So years here. Oh, I forgot a plus here. My bad. Actually put an and as we were doing before. Character and does not match data type. String. Alright, we'll just go with pluses then, I guess. Alright, this is going to be the underscore years plus, and then I'm just going to copy this. Too much type. That's environment that new line. And that's the display function. Done and dusted, right? Oh yeah, we need to return it, obviously. Displays details of the prior item. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's look at our design. What's left? We've got property methods, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the helper method, right? Right, and I'm going to make a protected validator. Right, and it's going to take in some value. In my design, I didn't put any value there, but essentially we should put a value, and it should either be an integer or a double. I'm going to say a double because what we want to do is actually validate the experience, right? But also the years should be validating the years also. Let's think about this. Do any of you guys have an idea on how to do that? Should we go with integer or double? No, nobody has an idea. All right, we're just gonna go with integer then, so that we can try and do years also. Integer. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're gonna go with integer also here. So we're gonna say I as integer. One of the things I haven't been doing that's bad practice is I haven't been explicitly saying whether I'm passing by val or by ref. All right. Validate them individually since they have different data types. That's a very good answer, right? So we could have a int via validator here, and then this can be an integer, and then we'll have a version for double. That's a smart one. That's a very good idea, right? That's a very, very good idea. So what are we gonna do is just gonna say if I less than 0, right? So the minimum value is 0. So if it's less than 0, obviously we have a problem. So if this is the problem, what are we going to do is we're going to just return 0, right? Obviously, you should throw an exception here, ideally. So we should just throw an exception. We should kind of go, well, throw a new exception, right? Then we should have an else. And then we should return I. So this is if it's less than 0, we're gonna throw an exception. If not, we'll return I, right? And we're gonna copy and paste this for the double, right? All right, and then we're gonna say, well, if it's exactly the same thing, so else return the. All right. Oh yeah, it shouldn't be an integer there. Double. All right. So now looking at this, we've got our two output functions. We can go and validate and set up add experience, and I can explain that again. But before that, just before we go any further, I wanted to just stress the good programming practice where you have to specifically say whether you're sending something by val or by ref, right? So we're leading up to your semester, right? Your semester test, right? We're nearly on the 10th week. I mean, you got practical 9 already, so I'm sure the practical semester test is coming up soon. And it's just better to be safe than sorry, right? So I'm sending all of my stuff by val for now. By ref is best used in specific scenarios. I did cover it last semester. So if you guys wanna watch those videos again, you should be able to. All right, so that's just to cover that quickly, and then let's go back to validation, right? So one of the things we can validate here is we know that this depends on years, right? Because this is a positive value, and this is probably a positive value. This is the only thing that can change it to negative value, right? And it's the only thing that we're gonna have a property method for that can be changed externally. So one of the things we should do is we should validate the years with the integer validate, right? So let's do something cool here. We're gonna say dim years as integer, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna say we'll put years here, right? And years is gonna be equal to int validates, and we're gonna send years, right? And that's how we validate that the years is gonna be above 0. Then we're gonna do experience validate, right? So we're gonna say xp is equal to double validator, and it's gonna be, we're gonna send exp here, right? And that's how we'll do the validation. So we validated both years and double, right? That's a really cool thing that we can do. Now that we have an integer validator, we can even validate here in this, right? We can do a little validation here. We can say, well, here is equal to validates its validator, and we're gonna send years in there. All right, cool. So essentially what's gonna happen is if this is below 0, it'll throw an exception. If not, what we'll get is we'll get the years back, and then everything will run as usual. All right, so that's really important. So now we've validated years there, we validated experience here, we've got a display function, and now we're going to do the property methods for this, right? The property methods here are going to be, let's start off with years, obviously. One second, let me just have a sip of water. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Public property, and it's going to be years. not the right one there. And we're gonna have, we can just do that. That makes it nice and easy. And then here, remember the int validator, right? So what you're gonna do is gonna say value equals to right, and just to make sure, I'm gonna say validate and the years are above 0. Right, so that's the property for years. What's next is you've got the read-only experience and then call sign. And we're done with this class. Damn, there's so much stuff to do in this class. Public property, wait, it's public read-only. Public read-only property, and it's going to be experience. Right, as double. As you can see, this one doesn't pop up the set, right? Like I said in the beginning, read only means you can only get the value, you can't set the value. So that's kind of why this works. So then all we're going to say is return. Ooh, that's terrible spelling. An experience. All right, so that's experience done, and now we've got call sign. Right? Call sign, we don't really care about that much. It's just a normal public. Right, now a good practice here is to always remember. Oh yeah, I forgot the bival thing. Right, so a good practice is once you've done a class, go back, read your question, see if your class actually does everything the question paper asks for. Because then you know you've done this section, you don't have to come back to it later on, right? You don't have to come back and change anything later on. That's really, really, really important. Right, and then I'm going to get in line 60, can you please explain why you subtracted value with years? Line 60 is this one here. Why I subtracted value with years? I don't understand what you mean by that. Yeah, you can speak to me.
Oh, okay. So is it years minus value or years equals to value?
With years equals to value here.
Oh, okay. So I thought it was a minus, sir.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because I can't see properly on my screen. Okay, it's fine. Thank you.
Oh, must I zoom in a bit? Is it difficult to see? Are you
A
guys
little bit,
struggling
so
to
you can.
see? All right, cool. I'll zoom in now. I'll try and zoom in out. Just tell me, is this a bit better?
Yeah, it's better, sir.
All right, cool. What I'll do is I'll make the Google side smaller so that this is bigger. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Hope that helps. You guys want to read this again from the top quickly, seeing as you couldn't see earlier? All right, so I'm just going to go through it again quickly. So this is a private call sign. We've got protected experience. We got private years, right? I'm just going to zoom in even more so that you guys can definitely see what's cracking. All right, then we've got a public sub, which does this, right? Now, one of the key things that we forgot is that in the sub, Once we validated the years and we set the years, we need to call add experience, right? Because that's one of the sticky notes in our design. There's it there, right? So that does that. Then we've got an overridable sub here, the add experience. The reason it's overridable is because as our design dictated, it's going to be overridable. One of the things we have, because essentially it's going to be in both the C enviro and the CER, that's why it's overridable essentially, but it's different for both of those. So here we dim our experience, then we dim the years as integer. The reason we make these two temporary things is so we can validate them, right? So we validate years. Ooh, I don't set this to anything. Right, it's a good thing I read through this because that would have been wrong, right? So I set this to years initially and then I validate it. That's better. This would just not have, this would have thrown an exception immediately. All right, so then we set the experience to the now validated years times 0.75, then we validate the experience. And then if it's valid, obviously we're gonna draw this. If it's not valid, it'll throw an exception. All right, then for our display function, we're just gonna say call sign, give the call sign years, give the years experience, give the experience, and environment at new line, so it will display in this format. It's gonna go call sign years experience, just as the question paper asked us to have it, right? Then we've got our int validator here, which throws an exception as long as I is below 0, right? So that means if I is negative, it's going to throw an exception. If I is 0, it will not throw an exception and return I. All right, then we've got the same kind of validator going on for double, which is D, and then that's how that works. We've got a property method for years. Now, the special thing with this property method is we validate it. All right, and remember to add the bivals. So that's, I think, a summary of everything so far. We've got a read-only experience here, which is essentially just a property without the set. So here you'll see a set, and here you won't see a set. Actually, if you try and put a set in here, you will get an error, right? So the place where you have to, that tells us the place where you have to validate experience is definitely in the actual add experience thing, which we've done correctly. All right, then we got cosine, which is just gonna return the cosine. Right. And for setting the value, it's just gonna be Alright, so I think that's everything in our design. Let's go look at our design. I'm going to make this full screen so we can see it clearly better. I'm hoping you guys can see this nicely now. So what we've got here is we've got our cosine, we've got our protected experience, we've got our private years. We've got a constructor that accepts years. We've got add experience, which is a subroutine. We've got display, which returns a string. We've got property method for years. We've got a read-only property method for experience, and we've got a cosine property method. We've got validators, right? We've got an extra validator here for doubles, right? Then we know the constructor does call add exp. Now let's look at our question paper and see if we've got everything that we needed, right? Hopefully you guys can read that a bit better now. So here we got cosine, which gives the nickname. We've got cosine, we've got experience. Let's double check if we do everything for experience, right? It is a double value. It has a minimum of 0 and it cannot be changed publicly. All right, so we've done experience correctly. We've got years, right? Years has a minimum value of 0, again, done correctly. All right, let's look at this. We've got add experience. It's a subroutine that sets the experience by multiplying the number of years by 0.75, right? I don't know if it's plus equals or it's just going to be years times 0.75. I think we're going to go with, I think we made a mistake with that. I think we're just going to go with equals, right? So I say plus equals here. I think we should just be equals. Just my interpretation there. If you can justify your own interpretation, your marker should have given you the marks, right? Then we've got a display function here, which goes cosine, then years, and then experience. Let's check ours. we've got cosine, then years, then experience. Dope. All right, cool. Then we've got a constructor that accepts years. It sets up the years, and then it calls the experience. Cool. So we've got everything for the first for question A, right? So question A is done. So let's put a comment there and say question A is done, right? Right, question A is now done. It took us 45 minutes to do question A. But in that time, we also did a design and stuff like that. So let's not be too hard on ourselves. All right. Now we've got all of this, right? Now we can go directly into CE to C Enviro or CER, right? I'm gonna go into C Enviro just because it's in this order here, and I'm gonna say inherits C Firefighter. Right, now the reason this is highlighting is because I need to declare a new, right? So I'm also just gonna make this a big screen for now. We'll switch between the two as we need to. All right, so one of the things is attributes. I'm gonna ignore that red line because I know why it's there. I know how to deal with it. I'm not gonna panic. All right. So attributes that this guy has. C Enviro has a chemical level. All right. So it's gonna have a private. Is it private? Let's go check our design. Let's go check our design. Private. Is it private? C Enviro is right here, and it is a private chemistry level. Cool. Let's go private chemistry level as integer. All right. Now, what else does this class have? We've got a constructor, we've got add, we've got display, and we've got the property. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the constructor, then I'm going to do the property method, and then I'm going to go and do the two overrided methods. All right, so let's go methods. Let's actually call this constructor because that's the one that's coming now. All right, and I have public sub new. It's gonna have years as integer, and it's gonna go well. My base dot new, and it's gonna send years in there. All right, cool. It's a constructor done, right? Don't forget the by val. And then we're gonna have the property methods. All right, so the property methods here is gonna be public property chemical level. And as we forget all the time, make sure you cover for overshadowing, right? Now, this is a get and set one, so we can just go like that, and we're gonna say turn chemical level. And for this, we can just, now, one of the things we must remember is chemical level is now gonna directly influence the experience, right? And we have to remember that the way we set experience is totally dependent on chemical level. Just have another sip of water. I don't know why my throat's getting so dry. Sorry, guys. Do you guys have any questions so far? Does anybody want to venture any questions, problems, or am I doing it wrong? Maybe I'm doing this wrong. You guys have any better options? All right. So I'm going to use our integer validate again here, right? So I'm going to say because we inherited it, so I can do that, which is quite cool, right? And then I'm going to I'm going to do this. Now, you're not required to do this. And some markers might have marked you wrong if you don't properly explain it, right? But for that reason, what I'm doing is I'm explaining it to you guys and saying, well, I know that this chemical level directly affects ad experience, and we want to make sure that ad experience remains positive and is as accurate as possible. So I'm making sure that nobody can set the chemical level to negatives, right? And that makes sense. All right, so now we've got the value here. We're going to just set it. So it's going to be level equals to value. All right, that's the property method done. And now the big deal. Now we got the key. Now we got to deal with the two overrided methods, right? So go methods. Right, and we're going to go public overrides. Right. That does a cool thing for us, right? You just press you press enter and it does this for us. But we don't want the mybase.ad experience. We want to do our own version, right? But in the same spirit, we want to go exp double, which is going to be equal to experience, right? And then we get let's say temp years as integer equals to years. This dot. How come I can't get years? Oh, because we don't care about years. We're doing chemistry level. Right, and then we're gonna do let's just quickly look at what we were supposed to do for these two, right? So for the chemistry level, we're going to go, it adds to the existing experience of the product of experience and the chemistry level. All right, cool. So XP is now going to be, let's first validate, so we're going to go chemistry equals validator chemistry, right? Then we're gonna go exp plus equals chemistry multiplied by xp, right? And then we're gonna validate this. So we're gonna go exp equals to double validator exp, and then if it passes, we're gonna set the experience equal to XP. And that's the first overrideable one. My goodness gracious me, that was rough, guys. That was pretty rough, wasn't it? Alright, so then this one is experience and then chemistry level. So that makes it pretty easy for us for the display one. It's gonna be public overrides function display. Right, and this one does a return mybase.display, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. What we're gonna add to it is gonna be chemistry level with a colon. I'm gonna go C string chemistry level plus environment dot new line. Nice, and that's the two overridable functions. And we're done with CEnviro. Just as quick as that. Right? So now we can just go over and do. Does anybody have any questions for CEnviro? Nobody? All right, cool. Let's go over to CER. Oh, yes, there is a. Okay, so nobody has any questions. Cool. I am gonna be super lazy, and I'm just gonna copy all of this over to the to CER because I still have to do the form thing, and it's already 11 o'clock. Right? So chemistry level is going to change into first aid level, right? And here we'll change that. Why do I have passing and parameters for the display method? Because the display method doesn't require any parameters, right? So if we look at this, right? Over here, display, it just returns a string containing these things. It doesn't need any external information, right? It has no requirement of external information. It's taking all of the information from inside the class. The course sign, the years, the first aid level, and the experience are all inside the class already. None of these are stuff that the user has to send in or that another class might have to send in. You get what I'm saying? It's got access to all of this information already. It doesn't need any more information. All right, that was first aid level. I'm gonna set the first aid level here. Okay, cool. As long as you understand that a bit. Here instead of that, we'll go to first aid level. Please don't copy and paste in your tests. You will copy and paste over any mistakes you've made. Right? I'm doing it because I'm just trying to be a smart kid who saves us time. But you should preferably code each one out so that you don't make any mistakes. Right? That's essentially the best way to do this. Let's look at how first aid guys calculated their XP, right? So for first aid, it's a subroutine that adds to the existing experience by multiplying the level of the firefighter's first aid by 15. So it's just going to be first aid level times 15, right? Aid times 15. All right, let's just make sure it's plus equals and not so it's just adds to the existing experience. All right, so it definitely is plus equals. So it's that plus 15, and we double validate it, and it's cool. So that's that. With this one here, right? So one of the things I told you guys to remember is that for first aid level, it's first aid level and then experience, right? So we can't just go at it and be like, my base display. So looking at that, right? It seems we've made a mistake. It seems we've made a mistake here. In years, it means that this isn't supposed to be private. It's supposed to be protected. And if anybody can tell me why I do that before I start coding, I will owe you guys a chocolate when campus resumes. Nobody has any idea why I had to change years to protected. So that it can be inherited down the hierarchy. Why is that important? When I'm talking about the display function for this specific one here, CER. Why is that important? Any ideas? I'll give you 2 minutes to try and figure that out quickly. It's 11 o'clock now, so you got 2 minutes. Try and type me an answer. So that is accessible to other classes but not changeable. That's actually incorrect. It is changeable in the other classes. That's what protected does. That's how I changed experience. See? Because experience is protected, and I changed it using this. So why do I need to make sure that years is protected only for CER? Why is that the only one that needs years to be protected? Because years is the same. We pass it from base to derived class. But remember, I'm asking you with regards to the display function. Why is it important for the display function? Not why do we set stuff to protect it in general? Why is it so that we have to change it for the display function? A minute left. Nobody has any answers. Okay, so let me give you a hint, right? My base.display. Oh yes, somebody wants to speak to me. Who's that? Okay, I guess not. All right, so let me explain quickly. My base.display, right? That's talking about C Firefighter's display value, right? And C Firefighter's display had years in the middle, right? It had years in the middle, and it had experience in the middle, and it had call sign, right? Actually, even call sign needs to be protected now, right? Because if we look at the practical here, right, it says that it goes for chemistry level, it goes call sign years experience. That is the normal firefighter's display, right? And then we just add chemistry level in afterwards. But in this case, it's call sign years and then first aid level. And so we can't just call my base anymore, right? So we need to make our own thing for CER here. So we can't do this. We can't rely on this to give us the years and everything like that, right? Which is kind of sad, but here we go, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy paste from the superclass because it's similar to that, but you shouldn't copy paste, as I mentioned before, because you copy paste any errors that you might have made, which is not good, right? We don't want to copy paste errors. So let's look at the practical again. What's the order that it gives us? It says for first aid, it's going to be call sign, years, then first aid level, then experience, right? So it's call sign, years, then first aid. First aid level. And then we're going to go right, and that's our display function done. You look at that, how easy was that? In 5 minutes we managed to do CER. All right, let's just make sure, right? So let's go through our practical and make sure that we've covered all of our bases, right? Because it's really important to make sure that. So the display function does this, the add experience function does that, and we've got a first aid level. Here we've got a chemistry level. It does do this, and it does do the add experience here. Do you understand like the difference between those two? Do you see how how slight the difference in the phrasing was and how much more code we had to do for that. Yes, you have a question. Speak to me.
Yes, hi. I have a question. With regards to number A, right? I'm sorry if I'm taking you back. I was a bit late for the practical, but I want to understand why experience is not the one that is made protected, or how did you do that first part where it says experience cannot be changed publicly?
Oh, okay. Experience when we talk about publicly, right? So that means it should not be publicly available. So it shouldn't have a setter, and it should be only accessible to the ones that inherit from it, right? And even those ones should not be should not allow our external classes to mess with their experience, right? But if we don't make it protected, how are we going to do this, right? So that's why we know that experience had to be declared as a protected value. We also know that it doesn't have a setter, so it's a read-only property. And the only thing that changes experience is going to be add experience, right? And then in add experience, we have to validate to make sure that it's always going to be above 0.
Okay, understandable. I think that's the problem that I had with my practical. It was a bit confusing for me.
No problem, I understand. Most of these are very tricky to understand, but there's a reason for that. There's definitely a reason for that. But
Yeah.
so just to show you quickly like how I've done it. So here we've got experience declared as protected, right? And then we've got a let me just find the property method. Yeah, so property method is read only, and inside the actual add experience we always validate. So we've got one validator and then another validator here at the end. All right, so does it kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
No problem. Happy to help. Any other questions that might want to step back a little bit? I don't mind. Like I did try and speed through this so that I can get to doing the form kind of stuff now, because that's what's next. So does anybody have any other questions for me? No, not yet. All right, cool. No problem. So we've validated that our CER is correct according to the question paper. We've validated that our C environment is correct according to the question paper. We've made sure that this is definitely correct according to the question paper, right? Now, now we want to our form. Now on the form, there's a couple things that we need to do because we've done A and B. Now we need to do C, D, E, and F, right? So question C is talking about a single one-dimensional array and then getting input, right? So I put these into 2 comments because obviously they're going to be 2 different places. And I'm just going to go tab. Here is the array. Right. And what I'm going to put here is the actual array. So it's going to be a private private C firefighter. Oh wait, that's C# style coding. I'm going to call it firefighters. It's going to be a one-dimensional array, and it's going to be as C firefighter, right? So that's the array. Now for the input, right? So let's go to our form, add a button for inputs. Toolbox. Button. Right. The first thing we need to input is the number of firefighters as well as all of the details for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all of that in one button and I'm going to call it read in info, right? So I'm going to go to properties here. I'm going to name this btn inputs. Now that was my design decision. If you wanted one that said that has an initialize where it asks for the number of firefighters, that's perfectly up to you. For me, I feel like it's a waste of time and everybody else's time. So I'm gonna say that input, right? So read in info. Get info. Right. Trying to make it as user friendly as possible, right? Double click. And then we copy and paste this above, because it needs to be above. And then in here, the first step is going to be get the number of FFs, right? So we're going to try and get the number of firefighters. So for that, we need a global variable for the number of firefighters. Right, and then we're going to do this. Right. Unlock messing me over again. Right. Then the second step is to get the actual info, right? So first we read them the array. Fighters. Right. Then we're gonna loop through and loop through get details, right? So obviously this is all going to be in one for loop, but one of the things I wanted to tell you guys is there's 3 different kinds of firefighters that have to go into this array, right? So what we need to do is we need to allow the user some kind of method to choose what firefighter goes into this type of array, and then we need to give them the relevant information, essentially, right? For that firefighter. So let's quickly set up the loop for this. Then we can deal with the rest of the stuff. So it's going to be for x equals 1. Well, let's go with 0 actually. To num fighters. Right, next x. In here, we need to now make a choice, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna first get a choice. So we're gonna just do it outside for sake of memory stuff. Choice item type as integer, right? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say item type equals int box, and in the input box what we're going to do is we're going to make up a full string, right? So let's just think about this. So what we want to do essentially is we want to have the actual fighter the fighter types set up by different kinds of strings. So like let's say 1 would be a normal firefighter, 2 will be an ER type fighter, and 3 will be an environmental fighter, right? So let's try and set that up, right? So we're gonna go with please choose either. We're gonna go with and we're gonna put some hands down. Now this is gonna be a bit difficult to read, so I'm gonna try and make it as spaced out as possible. And here we're gonna go environment with new line. Because if you wanted to go, please choose either at the top and then at the next line, we're gonna say, let's go with 1 for firefighter, and then we do it and paste this 3 times. Here we go, 2 for what ER, right? So ER fighters with 3 for 3 for environments. And I know that doesn't quite make sense. Obviously, you can make it make more sense. You can have like emergency rescue, or you can have environmental spills, whatever the case might be, right? Now we've got some kind of fighter type. It's either going to be 1, 2, or 3, right? You can obviously set up your, you can obviously do some validation if you want to, but for sake of time, I'm not going to. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, this is a select case, right? I'm going to do it on fighter type, right? And then I'm going to have case 1. Oh, that's 2. It's 1. Case 1 is going to just go, all right, we need to do something if it's case 1, right? Similarly if it's case 2 and if it's case 3. Case 2, case 3, right? And usually we'll have a default case, right? But in this case, we only want these 3, I guess, right? So then what we're going to do is we're now going to, so in here, we'll have to build the individual versions, right? The problem is we don't want to repeat code too much, right? So to make this a bit easier on everybody, let's just comment here so that we know that this is going to be a firefighter, right? And this is going to be ER, and it's going to be environment, right? So is it necessary to write line 22? Yes, 100% necessary to do line 22. Because you want, you remember, you're a software engineer. This is the beginning of software engineering. You make your stuff as user-friendly as possible, as nice to read as possible, and stuff like that, right? So a couple of things that we definitely know every single firefighter has is going to be call sign and years, right? So we're going to call sign as string. I hope that answers your question. If not, tell me what your real problem with line 22 is, and then we can discuss that. Right? As integer, right? So we know that these are definitely going to be there. We're gonna go, well, let's get a call sign. get the new fighter's cosine, right? And then we're gonna go cosine equals to x is the fighter's cosine. Right. Remember, the only three things that make up a firefighter is the cosine, the years, and the experience, right? We're never going to ask the user for experience, so we only have to ask for two things for every single firefighter. Right? So that's just a cool thing to remember there. And years is equal to seasons. Please enter the firefighters number of years worked. Right? And now we've got the years and the call sign, right? We can actually even make this a bit better and we can put an example there. Right, cool. That's cosine and years. Now we've got the cosine and the years. So now we're gonna have to build up a actual thing. Right, so if it's a firefighter, we can just go, well, fighter as firefighter, fighter, firefighter, let's do it here. Right, so now we've got a firefighter. We're gonna set his name. So fighter dot cosine equals to cosine, and we've set the years, right? So that's for normal firefighter, that's done. Let's play line 24. So right, line 24 is this one here, right? So this is a second parameter. Right, let me show you what that does. Right, let me just show you what that does. There's three parameters on an input box, right? So here is the second parameter, here is the first parameter, and the third one shows you an example, so it types in something for you. Right, so if you want to make it like really professional, obviously you'll put something in the top and you'll put something in the bar for the person already. So what I put is I put type and things, so I'm just going to put 13, and then look, it says type here, and then it's 1 as a possible answer. Look how nicely this is formatted. So 1 is a firefighter, 2 is an ER fighter, 3 is an enviro fighter. I'm hoping you guys can see this. It's not too small, but there we go. Does that make more sense to you? Nice. There we go. No problem. All right, so now we've got 1 for firefighter here. Now there's going to be a different kind of firefighter, right? So we have to dim a different kind of. Right, so let's call this fighter 1. Right, so we can just differentiate in our minds easier, right? Fighter 2 is going to be as mu CER, right? In here we send the years. Anyway. And what's from, oh yeah, fighter 1, my bad. And then we're going to set fighter 2 dots. Cosine, right? And now here people also have a third value thing that they need. This is called first aid. level is needed, right? Because we set a property for that, so we're gonna go fighter 2 dot first aid level equals to T input box. And here we're gonna say please enter this PR fighter first aid level. Right, and we're just gonna go level, we're gonna go 1. Right, and that's how you get the firefighter's first aid level, and it's set up like that. And then now we've got now we got 1 for firefighter, now we got 1 for fighter 2. I need 1 for, we obviously need 1 for fighter 3. I'm just gonna copy fighter 2's stuff because I'm tired of typing the same things. So I'm gonna go with fighter 3. Oh yeah, if you notice, this doesn't give me an error, right? Because it's outside this block. So once we leave here, fighter 2 no longer is he's no longer he no longer exists. Right? So once we go to case 3, fighter 2 hasn't been declared. So that's something you should think of. But I'm just naming them differently so that it's just easier for us to kind of see what's cracking, right? And fighter 3 is not an ER guy, he's an enviro guy. Right? And he doesn't have a first aid level. He has a chemical level. Right? So he has a chemical level. And right, so now we've got his chemical level. Now obviously you guys might be wondering, well, sure, we've got this cracking, right? But now how do we add it to the array? Right? That's clearly a bit of an issue. Because we haven't added it to the array. We've made these 3 kinds of fighters, but we haven't added any of them into our array. Right? So what we're gonna do now is gonna now add it into array. Add to array, and this is called implicit casting, right? So don't use that word unless you know what it means. Please ask your lecturers if they haven't told you what it means, right? If they did tell you what it means, I'm more than happy to explain it again. So somebody please tell me if they did. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go firefighters X is going to equal to fighter 1, right? And why does this work? Isn't this a different type, right? Well, it's because of inheritance. We know it as upcasting. Oh, okay, cool. So this is going to be upcasting. Right, we cast up the hierarchy, right? So we're casting from a low-level class or a subclass or child class into a base class, right? And is it chemistry or chemical level? It is chemical level. Chemistry was used during the add. So chemistry was only used during the add experience here. It's actually chemistry level. It's always chemistry level. Chemistry level. There we go. Oh, well, chemistry level, chemical level. Ah, I see where the mistake comes in. Oh, but I'm not going to change it now. You guys should know what I mean. It's supposed to be chemical level. Chemical level is the outside thing. Chemical level here. Chemical level. All right, no problem. Very cool. So back to this. I was copy pasting the upcasting. Well, actually, this is not upcasting specifically. This next one will be upcasting, but you guys got what I was trying to say, right? See, that's upcasting. This one is not upcasting. It's just a normal base class. Right, and that's how we get all of the information. Look at that, a whole beautiful 50 lines of question C. All right, now that we've got all of the information, right, now we need to display it. The best thing about polymorphism is actually displaying. I know we're already over time, but I'm gonna quickly do this, and then I'm gonna continue with my life. So I'm gonna do displaying. I'm gonna do these two quickly. They're not gonna be that long, right? So we're gonna go to the form. We're gonna drop down a text box, right? So text box, right? Hopefully you guys know how to do a multi-line text box. Like that. Right. Essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be displaying into this text box. Yeah, I understand rich text is probably better, but if we look at the thing here, right? If we look at the practical, just here, right? So using a multi-line text box, so it definitely says text box. So that's one of the few things that you need to take into consideration, that the mark sheet is going to look for a text box. So even if you display in a rich text box correctly, the fact that you couldn't follow instructions, you will be penalized. All right, so I'm going to call this txt poly, right? That's where the polymorphism is happening. And I'm going to leave text empty. So go back here. Let's actually put a button on also, because we need a button for displaying. I'm gonna just do it all in one button. It's a bit dodgy. Let's do a button quickly. And we will call this button btn display, btn poly. But its text will say polymorph will be displayed. But the user doesn't know what polymorphism is. A normal person at the fire department would not know that. Right? So now we've got txt poly and we've got button poly, right? So one of the cool things about this is what we're going to do is we're going to say, firstly, we need to remember that this button can change many times. Right? So just to make our lives easier for everybody and as well as ourselves, what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're just going to clear it, right? So txt poly clear, right? This is just going to clear the text box. Right? Then what we're going to do is, now we're going to loop through this again. Thankfully, we know the number of fighters from question C, right? So now we know the number of fighters, we can loop through the number of fighters and we can literally go call the add experience and then literally just display them. So it's going to be a quick and easy kind of thing. So we're going to go x as integer for x equals 1 to fighters. I just want to check, did I do this loop correct? So it's 4x is equal to 0 to num5, right? I think it should be 1 here. Let's go 1. 1 is better here. Somebody can tell me why it should be 1. Then Again, I will owe them a chocolate, or I'll try and get them maybe some kind of bonus marks. I'll try. No promises, but we'll see. Next, X. Alright, I'll try and speak to Mr. Van der Vestes and see if I can get somebody who likes to answer questions correctly, some bonus marks. We'll see. Alright, so here we've got some so we got num fighters. So now we're looping through the story, right? One of the things now to remember, one gives us the exact value. Exactly. Good job. Alright, cool. So now we're displaying it, right? So we're gonna have to loop through all of this, right? But we also have to call the subroutine for add experience, right? For display. We're gonna go fighters x dot add experience. Then we're gonna display, right? Maybe txt poly text plus equals fighters display. And that's it. That's our poly display clicker. That's our poly display button. It does the polymorphism, right? How is it doing the polymorphism? Well, each of these, even though there's some enviros and there's some ERs as well as normal firefighters, right? It's doing the add experience for each of those. Polymorphism means many forms. So it's calling the different forms of add experience for the related type, and it's doing that, right? And then it's going to display them using the related display and display them. So I think that's really, really cool, right? Now the next question is just essentially wait, this was question D. My bad. Just X V, right? So everybody knows what my question D is. Now we can do question E, right? And in a different text box, display the number of each of the different types of firefighters and then loop through the array to count them. All right, polymorphism is just a line. Yes, it is just one line. It is just one line. But how cool is that, right? How difficult would it have been to display each and every one of those if we had to display them from scratch without polymorphism, right? It's not just line 63, it's both line 63 and line 65. All right. Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's I really think it's the most amazing thing in the universe because it means we do so little work. It's just so much fun. All right. So look, I really like being lazy. So before you judge me for saying that I find coding fun, this makes my life easy. It allows me to be lazy, which means it's cool. Right? It's cool to me, and that's one thing you guys need to remember. All right, so now in a different text box, display so this is also going to be a multi-line text box. Let's drop him here. Where shall we do this? Shall we do a sequential kind of thing, or we're gonna go next door? Yeah, we can do a next door version. No, it doesn't make sense. We've been doing the buttons going down. So let's get a button from here. And here we're going to get number of different types. So we're going to go to properties, maybe btn. Type counter. Right, because that's what the button does, it counts the types. The text is going to say it's display different items. Yes, computer science is for lazy people. It is definitely for lazy people. We love stuff that makes life easy and allows us to be lazy. The more lazy we can be, the better. right? And here we're going to get a text box. It's actually a really nice thing because you realize how much of work is involved in building a system, right? And you'll be so grateful that there's so many things that make your life easy and allow you to be lazy. You'll really appreciate it one day. By the time you hit third year, you will just be so happy that you know all of these tricks. Well, if you're not happy by that time, then you've done something wrong in first year and second year. Okay, so in a different text box, our text box is now called, what do we call it? We call it TXT TXT type counter, right? So now in TXT type counter, we're gonna get the different names of all of the different types of firefighters, right? And to do this, we're gonna loop through them, right? So this is a really cool question, right? Because this is talking about something called downcasting or tri-casting, right? So well, not necessarily. It's something called type off that you're using, right? So yeah, I think it's also really cool because it just demonstrates your knowledge of polymorphism so much more. And if you understand this question and the question above, then you're really on your way to being you're really on your way to passing the semester test that's going to be coming up soon, right? I don't say you will, I say you're on your way, right? So the first thing is we're going to do a number of integers. It's going to be ff, it's going to be er, and it's going to be envir, right? As integer, right? And that's, well, those are going to be our counters, right? It's going to count the number of firefighters, the number of ER dudes, and the number of enviros, right? So I'm just going to say counters. I'm trying to do this in a way that you guys can kind of see how to approach your semesters and how to deal with the questions, right? I'm hoping you guys take this as a hint and try and get like that really high distinction in your semester test. Because you guys are doing it at home, so essentially you could make notes on this kind of thing and then just do it, right? So that's it's a really valuable tool if you ask me. All right, then the next thing is we're going to need to dim an x, right? And then we're going to do a for loop for x equals 1 to the number of firefighters x. Now we're going to loop through the fighters, right? Your home is the worst thing we're gonna. I agree. I totally agree. Don't worry. But you have some advantages during a test, as long as there's no load shedding. Obviously, that's the worst. I've actually been asking. I've been telling the lecturers that it's easier to pass this degree when you're on campus. But yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, discipline is very important. All right, so now we're gonna try and loop through these guys. Let's try something a little bit more fancy than usual here. All right. Okay, so let's go. Let's make a couple of if statements, right? What happened here? Why is my output not working? Try it. I'm just gonna put this in brackets so it's easy to read. The Visual Studio doesn't like brackets when I kept them out at the beginning. Alright, so if it's firefighter, right, we can do something. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go FF. Oh damn, it doesn't work in Visual Studio. Right, so yes, we'll need to go FF equals 0, ER equals 0, enviro equals 0, right? And there's no semicolon, my bad. Alright, now we can do this for 3 other ones. Right, and one more, but this time I'm gonna copy the whole thing. For firefighters X is C viral CR plus viral. Right. Now I've got the different types. So if one is rejected right in S, is it possible to still pass the course? It depends. If you passed, if you fail the SSA and you've still got like 45%, or if you fail the semester test with like a 40% or something like that, then sure you can 100% pass the course, right? And my advice would be to definitely get 100% in this practical semester test. And it's not that hard. Like as you can see, this is not difficult stuff. It's just making sure you read correctly and making sure you show all of your working, making sure you do the little things like show that it's bival. All of those things tell us that you know how to code, right? So it's not that difficult to get very high marks for the rest of the semester or for the rest of the practicals, for the practical semester test as well as the group project, right? I don't know if you guys have done your group project yet. If not, then try and nail that. If you have done your group project already, then just try and nail the exam at the end also. Alright, so I think that's important, as well as class test. Just put your head down and study, like watch all of the stuff again. How much practical are taken into consideration? That's between the lecturers and you guys. I know it kind of depends. It just depends on how the lecturers see you guys working. If most people have failed 4 practicals, then they'll probably take less. If most people have only failed 1 practical, then they'll probably take a lot more. So that's how it kind of works. They'll try and do the one that benefits the most people the most. All right, now we've got some counts that counted the number of different fighters. Right now we just have to kind of display it. So it's gonna be It's essentially going to go like this. So outside the loop. Remember, we don't display inside a loop unless we're adding stuff to the display dynamically, which we're not here. Is the type counter dot text plus equals right number file items. Total is environment 9. Right. The cool thing about this is here. Right. Now the cool thing about that is you can just copy paste it. I love copy pasting, as you can see. Symptom of laziness. Right. And this one is going to be enviros. Enviro. Alright, and that's how we do this. Easy peasy, right? Easy, easy peasy. That's all it is. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. To that. Now the last question, right? Using a grid. Now this takes a long time. Do you guys want me to test what we've got so far, or do you want me to do the grid quickly and then test very, very quickly at the end of like 5 items? Test. All right, cool. Let's go for a test. All right. For the data for this one, oh, test off the grid. Too late. I've already chosen to test now. So let's get the info. How many firefighters are there? Let's say we set up for 3 of each, right? So that's 9. Okay, 9 fighters. We're going to start off with 1 for the first one. The call sign is going to be FF man 1, and the number of years is going to be 10. And it's going to be 1 again, but it's going to be FF man 2. It's going to be 12 years on the force. 1 again, FF woman, right? It's going to be the number of years is 15. Right, then we're going to go 2. Number of firefighters. Please enter the firefighters call sign. This is going to be ER man 1. Number of years will go the same as the first round. First aid level. Let's go. He's level 3 because he can do everything except deliver a baby. 2. The firefighter's call sign is ER man 2. He's worked 12 years. He's a bit better. His firefighter level is 4. 2 again. ER woman, right? And she's worked 15 years in the force. And she's a level 4, also the highest level of first aid that you can get under a paramedic. Then we've got the Enviro boys. So it's going to be Enviroman 1. Number of years 10. Chemical level, I don't know what chemical level is. I've never worked with those, so I'm going to go 7. 3. Firefighters call sign, it's Enviro 2. Please enter the firefighters number of years worked, 12. The level here will be 8, and then we're going to have 3 again, and it's going to be Enviro woman. Right, and she's going to be working 15 years, and she's a level 9. Alright, now we'll display it. And here we go, call sign FF man 1, 10 years, experience 7.5. 12 years, experience 9. FF woman, years 15. Oh, geez, ER man. Okay, so it doesn't have a scroll bar here, which is annoying. But essentially, you can get those, and we've got 3, 3. Oh, what is going on here? Huh, would you look at that, right? Would you look at that? Now, I wonder why that's happening. Why do you guys think that is happening? Any ideas? No? All right, let me explain. This is really cool, actually. So remember, I'm saying if the type of firefighters is C firefighter, right? But look at this, right? We've got all of these, and they all inherit here. So they are all C firefighters, right? Now, doesn't that make sense now? Why it's kind of saying that all of the 9 firefighters are actually firefighters, right? So to fix that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna say, all right, cool. At the end here, we're gonna say FF is equal to fighters minus CER plus C enviro. How about this enviro? ER. I'm putting this in brackets. So it's ER plus enviro deducted from num fighters. Alright? And that'll give us the correct answer this time. But did you guys see that? Alright, so now we're gonna have to do the grid quickly. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get the grid done before 12. So if you guys have other tutorials or stuff like that, you're welcome to kind of leave. I'm gonna do the grid and let's set up a let's put a UJ grid down. UJ grid view to yeah. So why did I put it here? Because I don't want to waste space. So that's the only reason. Button. All right, let's. What is the question for the last thing again? Question from the single. Whoa. What just happened there? I don't know. So everything went black for a while, but it's back to normal. Whoever's hacking into me can chill for a while. From the single array, display the chemical level for all of the C-enviro objects in a grid. All right, so essentially what we need to do here is there's a couple of steps. The first thing is find out how many C-enviro objects there are, right? Then once we know how many enviro objects there are, what we're going to do is we're going to take that information, put it into a use that as a for loop to set up the grid for C-enviro object, give the name of the C-enviro objects that we've got, and as well as the chemistry level for each of them. So that is a little bit extra work, but it's not that much of a big deal, right? It's really not going to be that difficult, right? We've already found out how to check if something is a C-enviro, so I think it's not going to be that difficult. I think it's not going to be that difficult. So what we can do is we can kind of set up, we can try and do it with an array. We can make an array of C-enviros, or we can do it directly off the single array. Which one do you guys want to see? You guys that are still here. Hands up for an array of C-enviro. All right, we got 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I don't know how many people are doing that. All right, I can't see all of you guys. Let me see the lists. All right, how's this? So we've got 2 people saying using the single. All right, and then we got so the rest of you, I'm assuming, want to go for the, I don't know what single means, but the rest of you probably want to go with the whole thing of using the array that we already have without making a new array, right? And that's okay. Let's yes. All right, so I'll try and do one, and then kind of the let's see what we got here. Okay, so it doesn't really tell you what they want here in the thing here, whether they want you to do it via making an array or whatever the case might be. I'm gonna try and do it with downcasting, because I feel like downcasting is the more valuable skill here than kind of just looping through it and counting and stuff like that, right? Because I mean, if you think about it here, right, we already know how to loop through something and count, so we can just get a count here. We can then check if it's a ER and then just display it, right? So using that, yeah, sure, this is a very simple question, but let's try and do it with downcasting so that it's a little bit more challenging. Is everybody all right with that? Because I feel like downcasting might give a bit of a problem. Downcasting might give a bit of a problem. All right, so um, let's get into that. What we needed was a button. Button needs to be named. It's going to be BTN chemical level in chem level chem technically display chemical level. Right, now that we've got that, we can go here, go Control X. Now we've got comments for every single question, and let's. And also we need to rename the grid. UJ grid. That's cool. All right, so let's think of our algorithm here quickly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and get an array, get a down costed array, right? Then we're going to set up the grid using our information that we're going to display, right? So those are the 3 steps to this essential question here. Essentially this question. So the first part, getting the downcasted array, right? So firstly, obviously, it's going to be declare the array, right? And it's going to be dim enviros, let's see, enviro, right? So that's an array. And then we're going to get, then obviously for every array we declare, we need to get the number. It's going to be dim num enviros as integer. Right, now once we declared the array and we've got that now we can actually get the array, right? So for this, we're going to go dim x as integer for x equals 1 to the num items, right? Now we're looping through the main array, and we're going to look at each of these, right? I'm going to say, well, let's think about it as we're going to do a try. We're going to try and get all of the ones that are C enviro. So I'm going to copy from here and I'm going to say, I'll see. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go. So now we have if it's a C enviro, right? Now we know it is a C enviro, right? And we're going to say, okay, let's just set this to 0 so it's easy. I'm going to go enviros equals to plus equals 1, and then we're going to go, well, read and preserve this. Read and preserve enviros. and it's going to be till enviros. Then we're going to go, well, num enviro is going to equal to direct cost, right? So we can do a direct cost because we know that it's definitely an enviro. If we didn't know that it was definite, we'd have to do a try cost, right? So that's just a cool thing you might want to know. There we go. And what we're going to do it, turn it into is enviro. Okay, cool. Now we've got a loop that's busy building up an array, right? So now we've got some array that contains different things. Now this is where the downcasting happens, right? If you make a comment here, we know that you know exactly where the downcasting happens, and we can give you a mark easily, right? So now that we've got the downcasting done, let's think about this quickly, right? So if we set the array length to 1, right, then it's going to be 1, and then I think this might throw a small error here, but that's if you can tell me what the error might be, you know you're coding. If not, then you need to revise. But let's set up the grid now, right? So essentially we know that the columns is going to be, so it's going to be grids, grid dot rows equals to num enviros plus 1, right? And then we're going to set the columns equals to 2, right? Then we're going to go, all right, cool. Now we do a for loop. Enviros, we're looking through the num enviro array now. Okay, so I think you must do an else to avoid the error, I think. Nope, I don't think that's the error. I think what's going to happen here is, right, the way arrays are assigned, when you redim an array to 5, for example, right, it's actually making 5 spaces, but the 0 space is one of those 5 spaces, right? So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And that's going to be essentially, it's going to go up to 4. Now we're trying to index in on 1 when we've only redeemed it to 1, and that might throw an error, right? So you need to remember that. But let's see if it throws an error. We'll look at it when we try it. How does that sound, right? So that we can quickly debug it. All right, so 4x is equal to 1 to num enviros. Now what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and pop these onto the grid, and I did not make a grid placement thing. Very bad of me. Let's make a utility function on top of this. Right, and then we're going to go private sub base text E as string, R as int, C as right, and then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna say grid row is R grid row grid dot text equals T. Right, then we can do a quick thing here, going alright, place text inside. We're gonna go. We're gonna put the name first, obviously, right? So we're gonna go enviros x dot call sign comma row is gonna be the x value and the column is gonna be the 0th column. X. And this one is gonna be the chemical level, and this is gonna go. This is gonna be the C string. And this is gonna be 1. Alright, here we go. Enviros is used before it's been assigned a value. Well, we'll try and see what happens. We'll try and see what happens, right? I know that this needs to be above here. Alright. Well, luckily for us, that's the end of the paper. Alright, so that took me about 2 hours and 13 minutes to do. You will probably have 3 hours to do this. So essentially with your design for half an hour. So this is we made good time. Considering I was explaining everything and stuff like that. You could easily do this in 3 hours, right? This is not hard to do in 3 hours. Alright, let's test it out and see if we get the error that I was expecting. Alright, so first things first, get info. I'm gonna go 3 this time, and it's gonna go, all of them are gonna be in enviros. Enviro 1, and using a 10, chemical level 7, 3, enviro 2, okay as well, 12, 8, and 3, enviro 3, 15, level 9. And we got it, right? So the chemical level experience is 0. Why is experience 0? I wonder why experience is 0. We'll have to go check that out. Alright, so total is 3, see enviros is 3, that's correct. Enviro 1 is 7, 8, and 9, so this works. So it didn't give us the error that I was thinking it might. So ta-da, that's how that works. And then the next thing that we want to check on is why is experience 0? Right, there's something wrong with experience there. Let's go quickly take a look at C enviros experience. Right, experience calculation. The experience calculation is exp plus equals chemistry level times the experience. Oh, if it's 0, it'll stay 0. How did I not think of that? That's very weird. That's pretty whack, actually. Let's look at the question paper and see if we've done this incorrectly, right? Because I don't think so. Add experience subroutine that adds existing experience with the product of the existing experience in chemical level. Nope, it's definitely right. So that one never gains experience ever, unfortunately, which is pretty weird, right? But that's it. That's done. It's 100% done. We've done the whole practical. Does anybody have any last remaining questions before I go? Yes?
Oh yeah, so for the experience, I noticed that on the question paper, because I wanted to ask you, but I didn't want to disturb you. So with regards
Okay.
to it, what I did is that in my constructor, I tried to pass the experience in the second with as a second parameter in the
All right.
constructor.
Why did you do that?
Because the constructor says a constructor that accepts an integer years for setting the years property at instantiation, and then here it goes and says the experience of a firefighter is also assigned by making use of the add experience method. So in my mind, I thought that the add the experience of firefighter is also assigned by making use. So that assigned then assign, I thought it was a second argument. It should be in as a second argument. That's how I
No,
interpreted
no.
the question paper.
No, that's perfectly fine. As long as you can explain yourself to your marker, you'll definitely get your marks for that.
Yes.
Obviously, for
So
semesters 2, you're not going to be able to explain yourself, so you have to comment it
yeah.
out. So you're going to have to write a
Okay.
comment saying, yeah, and this is because I realized that, like, let's say, here in the constructor, right, you're going to write a comment saying, I added a second because blah blah blah, because this affects the experience in this specific class, right? And that will be fine.
Okay. All right, sir. So I think maybe that is why also maybe we're getting 0 for experience. That's my opinion. Not but I'll check the recording, try coding it the way
Yeah,
you did, and if still it gives me 0, then I'll have to uh take it to the assistant or what, and then I'll ask you in the assistant or maybe in the following tutorial on Saturday.
yeah.
Okay, thank you,
So
sir.
just fix it, right? What we can do is we can just go, it goes to 1, right? So we'll set it to 1 at the beginning for every single person, right? And
All
then
right,
what will
sir.
happen is it'll no longer give us that 0,
Okay, sir.
right? So yeah, you'll see now. I'm gonna do 1 because it's gonna be a quick demonstration. Into the file cosine sine. The number of years is 15. Level 7. Right. And here we go. Oh, experience is still 0. Why is still 0 here? Didn't I set? Oh, I didn't set experience to anything. You'd also have to set experience here. Equal to 1. Right, and that's the one that'll actually do it. The experience. Changes made in progress. All right, cool. Start. Let's try this again. 1, 3, sine 8, 7. There we go. There we go. That's how it's done.
Oh, awesome, sir.
So you just
Thank
set
you so much.
experience to 1. No problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Cool. And then essentially all you'll have to do is just put headings here to make it better. And here in the way you did this 1, you're gonna put a comment here saying to ensure XP is not 0 all the time. And that's it. That's the whole of last week's practical. Done and dusted. Anybody have any further questions? Anybody have any further questions? No? Is that it for today? Can we go home? Well, we are home. Can we not record anymore? Can we finish the class? All right, so no more questions. I'm happy for that. Remember to have a great weekend. Remember to add your bivals in. Remember to comment what you're doing. So I tried to give you guys a good approach here. Always start with the UML. Make sure you do a good UML that covers everything in the question paper. That way you don't have to keep making sure by checking back. You just follow your design. Yeah, so that's the tips for next week. Best of luck with next week's practical. And have a great weekend, guys.